Welcome to Tales from the Fandom, a podcast that brings a special guest out of the multiverse and straight to you. And now your host, David Ginsburg.
Welcome to Tales from the Fandom, the podcast that brings a special guest out of the multiverse and straight to you. Today's guest is a cosplayer and artist born and raised in the California Bay Area. She's been painting, drawing, and crafting ever since she can remember, and her earliest memories of painting were at the age of 4 with watercolor by number books, which I actually remember those. Now she specializes in realistic portrait paintings. She's cosplaying more than painting, though, but she makes armored costumes. That is something that is her favorite because she gets to paint the armor and she gets the best of both worlds. Welcome to Tales from the Fandom, Kittie. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great, David. Thank you for having me. I'm happy to be here.
Oh, you are quite welcome. I'm so pleased to finally get to speak with you. Your costumes are amazing,
Oh, thank
and
you.
one of my favorite ones that you just did recently is the Lilo Fett.
Oh, yeah, that was a lot of fun to do, and I really love doing mashups. So,
It's definitely something that's really become popular, I think, within like the past year or so, because not only do you have the mashups with the Mandalorian armor, but I've also seen a ton of mashups with the Disney princesses and the Slave Leia costumes.
yeah, there's actually a big group called the Disney Fets, which is like a Boba Fett Mandalorian mashup with Disney. So it actually was started by Amber Arden, who is Snowba Fett, who is a Snow White Boba Fett mashup, and then recently, I believe last year, it just grew into a big um, Disney princess Mandalorian group, and then kind of ran out of princesses. So now it's expanding more into Disney, like it's going into like Toy Story, and like I did Lilo and Stitch. So it's going off of more than just being the princesses.
Right, and which is awesome because there's so many different characters and getting to see them represented as a Mandalorian is pretty awesome.
Yeah, it's so much fun.
So you are into a lot of different fandoms. Um, what are some of the things that you're into off the top of your head?
Well, obviously I did Lilo and Stitch. That's a Mandalorian mashup. So I love Star Wars, Harry Potter, Ghostbusters, The Walking Dead, Marvel. I especially loved X-Men, Power Rangers, and Hello Kitty.
Absolutely. I saw that Hello Kitty picture of you with that dress I think you wore to a baseball game.
Yes. So it's a Hello Kitty dress that was inspired by a Hello Kitty shoot done by Lady Gaga, I believe about 5 years ago. And that's actually my second dress. I have two different ones.
That's pretty awesome. Um, one of the fandoms that you're interested in is Power Rangers. And is that your first fandom that you got into?
Yes, it is. Well, I liked a lot of other fandoms I got into when I did the whole like Saturday morning cartoon thing since I was younger. But I think Power
Hmm.
Rangers was the first where I was totally engulfed in the show, where I had to go and I had to have all the toys and I had to have two of everything, one to play with and one to keep in the box. Um,
Oh my goodness.
yeah, so it was pretty bad. I have a lot of stuff. And then it also got to the point where I wanted to be like the Power Rangers. So I had asked, my parents, like, hey, I want to do martial arts just because I want to be like a Power Ranger. So they had taken me around to different check out like different dojos, different classes, and I didn't even really care what it was karate or taekwondo. I just wanted to do something, and I ended up finding a taekwondo class that I really liked, and so I did that for about a year just because I wanted to be like a Power Ranger.
That is awesome. I remember when it debuted, I remember watching it, and then I wrote really bad like stories. And this was way before like I even knew what fan fiction was. Just like different stories of the characters doing things and introducing like new rangers to the group and new different Zords, and it was ridiculous.
Oh, that's interesting. So you just made up your own stories?
Oh yeah, I mean, I would write like 7, 8, 9, 10 pages, and I'd have like which new Ranger had which Zord and what weapon they fought with. I mean, over the top ridiculous.
Oh, I'd love to see that. You should, I don't know, you need to introduce that to somebody. That needs to like come up on film or on something. I think that would
I,
be
I
great.
it's lost to the times. I'd have to
Oh,
have like a time turner to go back and find it.
well, I have a time turner actually.
Don't tell anyone.
It's a secret.
So, who's your favorite Power Ranger?
Oh, definitely Trini. Um, so she was a big role model for me. Back then, so Power Rangers came out in 1993. I was
Hmm.
13 years old, and there wasn't that many female Asian, I guess, people to look up to and to inspire. And I really looked up to her. She was a good role model for me, and uh, so she's definitely my favorite. And then it kind of got crazy because it's like I wanted to wear yellow, and it's so hard to find yellow clothes. So I had realized, like, how do all these people wear the same color clothes every single day? This is very difficult.
Oh my goodness, that's always the funniest thing is when they are always wearing that same color that's representing their uniform or their outfit, and it's like, what is going on? Especially in, I know that you don't watch the later ones, but some of them switch colors and they're like, oh, I guess I have to find new black clothing because I was the like Blue Ranger and now I'm the Black Ranger.
Yeah, it's so funny. And like,
So,
actually, I'm
oh,
going
go ahead.
to this weekend. I'm going to be going to Power Morphicon, which is a Power Ranger convention, and I'm trying to find clothes so I can be like casual, cleany, Trini high school attire, and I
Hmm.
cannot find yellow plaid and yellow striped anything. I noticed like she wears so actually all the Rangers they wore so much striped and plaid of just one color, and this is the hardest thing to do.
I almost wonder if it's just the fashion of the times with that color scheme going on, and now it's just something that it's just not in style anymore.
Yeah, probably.
Well, I remember Trini was one of my favorites. There's always Trini and Billy. I always wanted them to get together and be the cute awkward couple.
That would have been cool.
Yep, but instead they focused on Kimberly
Yeah.
and her and Jason, or her and Tommy.
Yeah.
And so how long did you watch Power Rangers for?
Um, I was really into it, um, actually just for the original five and Tommy, who's played by Jason David Frank. For some reason, I just really connected with those original characters. And then when it started changing, when the Zords started changing and the actors started changing, I kind of got less into it.
Okay.
But I really like Tommy. He's my second favorite Ranger. I really like him a lot.
Okay. If with the new movie coming out, is that something that you're going to go watch?
Oh, definitely. I'm really excited for this. But I don't want to see any trailers. I feel like trailers spoil movies.
I
Really spoil
absolutely
movies.
I have to agree with you. I mean, there's some trailers where after you see the trailer, you don't really need to see the movie.
Exactly. Like they spoil too much. And then when you watch the movie, you're like, oh, well, that would have been so awesome for me to see the first time, but I've already seen it a million times in the trailer.
Exactly. Exactly. I'm interested to see how it goes because they're keeping all of the same character names, which at one point I was like, well, that seems kind of weird. Like they're having a Billy and a Trini and a Zach and a Kimberly. So I want to see. I guess they're going to do an alternative take on the original series.
Maybe almost like a alternate universe. I'm not sure. I really have not read into it at all. I just don't want to know.
Right. But
But I did get
you know,
to see the helmets at San Diego Comic Con a few weeks ago, and they look pretty cool.
awesome. I know that there's a lot of discussion about the new costumes online. I haven't really read too much about it except that some people are liking it and some people are not liking it, and of course that's how all fandoms are, is you get half that like it and half that don't.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the original costumes, they were from the 90s, and it really wouldn't make sense to have those same costumes now. So I like the more armored look now.
Right. Especially with what they're doing. I mean, if you're fighting galactic beasts and crazy aliens, you definitely need some armor.
True, true.
So something else that you're into, and I know we talked about it more before we started recording, was you're into the X-Men, but you're into the X-Men animated series.
Yes. I love the animated series. So my favorite characters was Jubilee. Again, the
Mm-hmm.
whole um Asian, I didn't have that many characters to look up to. So I know a lot of people give her kind of grief, like, oh, she's kind of lame, whatever. She just has fireworks. But it was
Mm-hmm.
somebody that I looked up to.
Right.
But
I
then,
mean, you do try to find people that you identify with, and I know it's harder for certain ethnicities to find those people, especially back in the 80s and 90s
mhm,
when we were both growing up, to find people that you really related to.
yep.
So yeah, and shockingly or coincidentally, Jubilee also wears yellow.
I know. I noticed that I have a lot of yellow cosplays, which is by accident. Because I actually
I
do two different versions of Jubilee. So I do the animated series, from the 90s with the long trench coat. And then I've also recently done the new Apocalypse Jubilee from the new movie.
Okay. What was it about the X-Men animated series that drew you into it?
I think it was the whole special powers. Actually, similar to Power Rangers, they're just young kids who all of a sudden were able to have these special abilities. And then I always had felt like maybe I could be an X-Men. Maybe like I have some powers inside me and I've yet to harness them. I don't know, maybe I still think that, but I don't know, it just seems really cool that, they were just normal people.
If you had a mutant power, what would you like it to be?
That's really tough because there's so many cool powers. I think definitely one of them would be to fly.
I'm right there with you. I default now to either flying or just teleporting somewhere because I'm just so tired of driving places.
Teleporting would be
So,
cool too.
oh, go ahead.
Oh no, I was just saying teleporting would be cool too. I didn't but like Nightcrawler, it's kind of hard because he has to know where he's going to teleport into, so that's kind of scary.
Right, and not only that, but Nightcrawler goes through like the I don't know if it's not limbo, but it's definitely somewhere where when he's teleporting, he goes through it like a different plane,
Yeah,
and
there's
it's
like a
not
transition.
the nicest place. So, yeah, definitely. Um, so you did you watch all of the animated series, like the whole run for it?
So funny thing is I tried to watch the series as much as I could, and I don't know why. For some reason, I always got um, stuck watching the Phoenix Saga,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't know why it kept just rerunning the Phoenix Saga. So I saw mostly that, and then some of the kind of like the Days of Future Past, where with the Sentinels.
Yep.
But I don't know why. For some reason, I don't know, just TV back then, it just like it wasn't like now where you can just go to Netflix and watch whatever episode. It was just kind of like whatever was playing. I'm like, oh, I saw this one already. So I got
Exactly.
really into yeah, the Phoenix Saga.
There was one time I think I had missed I had to have missed at least a couple episodes because Morph had showed back up, and I was like, "Wait, what's he doing back on the show? He's supposed to be dead. He's not even in this anymore."
Yeah, yeah. It
So
was really pretty bad back then. When if you missed an episode, you were lost.
yeah, and it's but at I was talking to someone else, and between the X-Men the animated series and the Batman animated series that were kind of on at the same time, they were some of the first cartoon shows that were doing multi-episode story arcs, which was really awesome
Hmm.
to especially when you got to actually watch them all in order just to see the story go on and be really blown away by it.
Yeah. Yeah, I've recently been rewatching it. So I bought the DVD so I can watch it all in sequence and not miss any episode. So it's kind of neat to rewatch all these old movies or all these old TV series.
Absolutely. And you said that you're also into the reboots of the X-Men series, the movies?
Oh, I love the movies. I feel like I know some people don't like them. I've heard some negative, but I love them. I feel like they did such a good job representing the characters, especially Hugh Jackman as Wolverine. He's like the real Wolverine, and then
Mhm.
Patrick Stewart as Professor X is just it's brilliant. And I feel like it's been I don't know how many years later, and since the animated series, and it feels like it picks back up.
Right.
So,
Yeah, absolutely, because, I haven't seen the latest one, the Apocalypse one, but I've seen the 2 reboots, the X-Men First Class and then the second one. I can't the name is escaping me right now, Days of
yeah,
Future
Days of
Past,
Future Past.
and I really love those. I loved, the first one establishing the new characters with, Magneto and Professor X and like not the original X-Men, of course, but their X-Men team, like with Hank McCoy.
Hmm.
And I really I dug that. Like the '60s was awesome. Days of Future Past was really great with blending the original X-Men cast with the new X-Men cast. Uh, and of course, I always love seeing Kitty Pryde represented anywhere.
Yeah.
How was Jubilee represented in Apocalypse? Because I've heard different things, and I really like the outfit and the style that they went with her.
So I was really excited when I heard that Jubilee was going to be in Apocalypse, and then I actually started putting together this cosplay last year. So it was maybe 6 months or more before the movie actually came out. I started finding screenshots of um, the outfits that the actress was wearing, and I was able to find the actual screen accurate shirt. And so I started piecing it together, and then so I was really excited for Jubilee to be in this movie, and then she ended up getting cut. I mean, she's still in it, but they took out a lot of her scenes.
Oh no!
Yeah, she was supposed to have like a, I don't want to spoil, but she's supposed to have like a big, like mall sequence where she's was actually going to use her powers, and she actually doesn't get to use her powers in the movie, and supposedly all this is going to be in the extras.
Okay, so there is hope yet to get to see Jubilee in action.
Yeah, so I hope that they'll be in the extras.
Well, that's a bummer because between like when they announced who was going to be in the movie, I was really looking forward to both Jubilee and Psylocke because those two characters are really, I think, or I feel that they're really underrated as far as X-Men go,
Yeah.
and I was really psyched to see them. And again, since I haven't seen the movie, I can't judge like what Olivia Munn did with Psylocke or how much she's in the movie, but I know that I'm just looking forward to seeing both of them on the screen finally.
Yeah. I think Olivia Munn did a really good job. I would have liked to see more of her. Then I don't know if it's also I'm a big Olivia Munn fan, so
Me too. When just out of curiosity, that's not related to X-Men, when did you get into Olivia Munn? Was it back on Attack of the Show?
yes, so G4's Attack of the Show, that was one of my favorite shows. So I don't really watch too much television. There has to be like a show where I'm dedicated to, I'll come home from work and like, oh, I have to watch that show.
Hmm.
So right now for me, it's like, oh, okay, Walking Dead. I have to watch Walking Dead. But back then, it was I have to be home from work and I have to watch Attack of the Show. And again, it was the whole Asian thing that got me into um, liking Olivia Munn. And actually, she was the one who inspired me to be open about being nerdy because I was kind of
Okay.
like a closet nerd before. Um, I've always been into fandoms and nerdy stuff, but seeing her on screen and seeing like, oh wow, you can be Asian and you can be pretty, but you can still be a nerd, and I thought that was
Right.
really cool. So I kind of have to thank her for being more open about just myself, and it actually got me into doing more cosplays too. And
Awesome. Yeah, definitely, because I know I talk to a lot of my friends that I have, um, and it's really interesting to see their paths from getting out there. I was always somebody that you could tell in high school I was a Star Trek guy. Like, I even showed up at school one day, the school newspaper wanted to take a picture of me in my Star Trek uniform.
oh, really?
So like everyone knew. But for some people, it's taken a long time, or it's taken certain, like for you seeing like Olivia Munn, or having those people that are out there that really just inspire you to just embrace who you are.
Yeah.
We did X-Men and Power Rangers. One of the other ones that you told me about was Star Wars.
Yes.
Now, are you original trilogy fan? Are you did you how did you get into Star Wars?
So I got into Star Wars actually probably when I was like 4 or 5 years old. My dad started showing me the original trilogy, and being that young, it was really hard to grasp the storyline. There's so
Mhm.
much going on, especially like watching it when you're older. You're like thinking, "Wow, this is such like political storyline." And it was hard to grasp as a child. So what had gotten me was characters like R2D2 and C3PO, Chewbacca. I thought, they were cool, fun characters. And then when I saw Return of the Jedi, the Ewoks, I fell in love with the Ewoks.
Mhm.
And that's what got me more into Star Wars. My dad showed me Ewok Adventure movies. So there's actually two kind of like spin-off movies that are just dedicated to the Ewoks on Endor. There's the Caravan of Courage and the Battle for Endor, and I would just watch those over and over again when I was a kid.
I I have to say that I've tried to get my kids into watching Star Wars, and they're 7 and 6 year olds, and they just can't sit for it because they want Jedi, they want lightsabers, and with the original trilogy, there's not really much action going on, and it kills me. I'm like, can't you guys just like Star Wars just a little bit? Just just you'll get into it. I promise you.
But what have you tried having them watch like the newer episodes, or have they seen The Force Awakens?
No, they haven't seen any of that. They have seen some of Star Wars Rebels, which is why they're very much into wanting action all the time.
Okay. I love Star Wars Rebels.
Yeah, I mean, I like it too. I just want them to be more into it, but I've got to take it slow with them. I mean, right now they're into Pokemon and Power Rangers and some stuff like that.
Yeah, you can't
But
force fandoms on kids.
I must force it on my kids.
No, I'll probably do the same thing once I have kids. I'm gonna make
Now I
them
have
rewatch everything from when I was a kid, from all the 80s and 90s stuff. I'm like, this is what
Oh
you're
my
gonna
goodness.
watch.
My wife had them sit down to try and watch Punky Brewster, and that didn't work either.
Yeah, I don't think that one would work.
But yeah, I think we might have tried Inspector Gadget, like the original Inspector Gadget, and they weren't going for that either. Now, I have to say that when you brought up the Ewok movies, I think it's Caravan of Courage, which is the one with the brother and sister, right?
um, Mace and Sindel. And
Right. That like they're on the caravan, they're trying to rescue their parents.
yes,
That movie used to scare me with
that big
the
giant.
yes. Yes, worse than the Rancor from Return of the Jedi. Like, because maybe it's because it's the Ewoks or they're little kids, but yeah, that was scary back then.
It scared me too. Actually, a lot of the movies that I watched, I realize now when I was a kid were so scary, but I would still watch it. Like Jim Henson's The Dark Crystal. Like that
Hmm.
movie, I had nightmares for months, but then I would still go back and watch it again.
Oh, absolutely. I That's the same thing. I used to watch that, and there were parts where I'd have to close my eyes because it was so scary. But it's still one of those movies where it just influences you from the moment you watched it. Now, I will say that I blame one of my parents' friends for having me watch Jaws and scarring me for a good year or two of having to open the shower curtain to make sure that Jaws wasn't in the shower.
That's funny. Like I had so I grew up I had a swimming pool at my parents' house, and like I would always think that there was a shark in the deep end.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, there's a shark in that shower drain. It's going to come out of the shower drain and bite you. The things that the things that we were into as kids in like the 80s and even the early 90s is not something that would happen really at this day and age, I don't think.
Yeah, I kind of wonder how the mind is of children nowadays. I feel like back then we had bigger imaginations,
Mhm.
and I don't know, maybe that's why we would come up with these crazy things. There's no way there's going to be a shark in your shower, but I don't know, our imaginations run wild.
Exactly. And I definitely have to say, being the parent of three kids, they have some of them. One of my kids he's like, I have no imagination. I can't think of anything. It's like, no, we need you to work on your imagination some.
I think kids now just need to play more. They go outside
Yes.
and play more. Because I was big on hide and seek, building tree forts, climbing trees, and just, I would go and I would pretend to be a Power Ranger. And like, I didn't really need toys. I can just go outside and pretend.
Right. And nowadays kids don't or can't go outside, whether it's, people are scared of what could happen if their kids are taken, or it's not safe to be outside. I mean, there's so many different
Yeah.
things nowadays.
It's really sad.
It is. But getting back to Star Wars,
Yes, get back to Star
uh
Wars.
yeah, I mean, I'm totally cool with meandering off wherever we go. But so you like the original trilogy and the Ewok movies. Who do you have a favorite character?
Um, for Star Wars, I since I like Ewoks, I love Wicket. Um, and the movie that I had liked that had gotten me to love Star Wars the most was actually the Battle of Endor with
Hmm.
Wicket and Teak. I don't know. Did you watch that movie?
I'm sure I have. I can't recall it too much. I mean, I can recall the Ewoks cartoon more than I can recall the Battle of Endor movie.
Well, I just thought that it was just really hilarious. So Teak was kind of like this white, fluffy. I can't really describe it. Almost not really monkey. I don't know, this really cute other character, but I just feel like Teak and Wicket were really funny because they don't really talk, but just their interactions.
Hmm.
And I would just laugh and rewind and watch these two characters over and over again.
Are you into either the prequels or the Force Awakens?
The Force Awakens was amazing. The prequels, I don't hate on them. I know a lot of people don't like them and wish that they never happened, but I'll watch all of the movies.
Okay. You're an equal opportunity Star Wars fan
Yeah.
then. Yeah. I remember I watched Phantom Menace 11 times in the movie theater.
Oh, you did?
Yep, and there were times where I would bring people. I was like, "Did you see it yet?" "No." "Okay, you're coming with me to watch it." And I know it's totally ridiculous now, but I mean, there were some awesome parts in the movie. Um, but Overall, like I'm not one of those the like a hater on the prequels. They all bring something to the table.
Exactly.
I I was talking to someone previously, and we talked about how the Clone Wars cartoon show is what we as fans had really wanted for prequel movies, because you really like Anakin Skywalker in the Clone Wars cartoon show, and you just get to see like the vast scale of what's actually going on.
Okay. Yeah, I never really got too much into the Clone Wars, and there's so many seasons. Like I keep saying, okay, I need to go back and rewatch it,
Hmm.
but it's so hard to go back through like
Yeah, it's six
five, is it
seasons.
6 seasons?
Yep.
It's so hard to find time just to do anything, you know, with
Yeah.
work and making dinner, finding time to make costumes, cosplay, just to live life and then
Oh,
to
absolutely.
find time to watch all these shows. But I
I
did
I
like
feel you
Star
on
Wars
that.
Rebels though.
Yeah, I've seen most of the first season of Star Wars Rebels, so I'm about 2 seasons behind, I think.
Well,
But I'm really psyched to actually get to watch it again.
yeah, so there's actually only 2 seasons right now, so you're not too far off.
What?
Yeah, there's only two, and then start season 3 is going to be happening this fall.
Oh, I could have sworn it was season 4, but I guess I'm just trying to get ahead of myself.
You're just wanting more already. That's why.
Absolutely. I want more. I definitely need more Star Wars in my life, which I'm happy that Rogue One looks so awesome.
Oh yeah, I can't wait for Rogue One.
That is, I'm excited by the cast, and that it's another female lead, and just the action and the throwback look to the original trilogy. It's going to be a wonderful time.
Mhm.
Now, another thing that you're into is Ghostbusters, and you're not only into the new Ghostbusters, you're into the original Ghostbusters.
Yes. So, um, nothing can beat the originals. With Bill Murray, Dan Aykroyd, Harold Ramis, and Ernie Hudson. They had such a great chemistry. So you can't. I know a lot of people are hating on the new movie because they're like, "Oh yeah, you can't redo. Nothing can be better than the originals." But that's true. Nothing is going to be like the originals. You have to think of the new movie as its own.
Right. I think a lot of it was also, oh, you've replaced all of it with women, which is ridiculous.
Yeah, that's crazy. What's wrong with women?
Nothing's wrong with women. Women rule the world. Don't Doesn't people listen to the music?
Yeah.
So, you've seen the new one.
Yes.
I have not.
Oh, you need to go watch it.
I know. I need
Watch
to
it
go
in.
watch it.
Oh, I know you don't really do 3D, but it's really good in 3D.
Yeah, I can't do 3D, but I will watch it at some point. What what really stood out in that movie for you?
Um, well, I love Ghostbusters. So I liked how there was a lot of they paid a lot of homage back to the original movies. Um, so they would sneak those in there. It's kind of difficult to say. I like the whole movie as a whole. It paid homage to the originals and it made it its own. Um, the four new actresses, Melissa McCarthy, Kristen Wiig, Leslie Jones, and Kate McKinnon, I thought they had a really good chemistry. They're not going to have the same chemistry as the original four, but they had their own, and I think they worked very well together. Um,
Hmm.
Also, I really liked the ghosts, the effects with the ghosts in this movie. That's why I really liked it in 3D. Um, and the story was pretty good. Obviously there's some things that I would have changed or would have, thought, oh, why did they do this? But honestly, I can probably say that, or anybody can say that with any movie.
Right. Who was your favorite of the four lady Ghostbusters?
Oh, definitely Kate McKinnon as Holtzman. She totally stole that movie.
That's what I've heard. I've heard a lot of people like that is the character that they've all gravitated towards.
Yeah. I don't
And I
she
heard,
just has,
oh,
like,
go
a
ahead.
charisma. She has, like, a charisma about her, and it's kind of sexy, but it's humorous, and I don't know. I just like her a lot.
That is awesome. I heard that they set up for a sequel at the end of the movie if I guess if enough people watch this one or it makes money in DVD. I'm not too sure where it is as far as money making goes, but I heard that they set it up for the sequel.
Yes, so if you watch the movie, watch all the way to the end, and there's a little portion that will pay homage to the original movies, and I guess it gives a hint that there will be a sequel. So, I was really excited. So if you know the originals, you will be excited when you see the ending.
Oh yeah, I am super excited once I heard what that they were planning to do, which like I was already psyched to go see the movie in the first place, and now I just really want to see it so that way I can get a sequel because the what they're planning to do hopefully is something that would just be amazing.
Yeah.
So, as we've been talking a lot about you being into cosplay. How did you get into cosplay? I mean, besides Olivia Munn really showing you that it's okay to be a nerd on the outside, was there anything in particular that just started it off for you?
So, growing up as a kid, Halloween was always my favorite holiday, and I just wanted more. I wanted Halloween to be all the time, and I kind of got um, to the point where I got tired of certain Halloween costumes. Like there was always a witch costume or a ghost or ninja or like those hooded reaper. It was just always the same costumes over and over. So I felt like maybe I can make something. I can make my own costume. So that's what I started doing. The first costume I've ever made was actually uh, a Mortal Kombat costume. It was Reptile from the
Okay.
video game. I believe I made that in like 92. So what I did was I went and bought a generic black ninja uniform for like $10. And then I got some green fabric and then I had cut and hand sewed all the green pieces and made a mask and I made a reptile costume and that's kind of where it started.
That's awesome. Uh, Mortal Kombat goes way back in the day, but again, you and I think we're probably the same age as far as growing up, since we were watching the shows at the same time. So yeah, Reptile is pretty cool. I mean, I was always a Scorpion guy from Mortal Kombat, but
Yeah, I actually liked Sub-Zero and for some reason I think around that time of Halloween, Reptile was a new character, and I
hmm
wanted to be the very first. So that was like
right.
my theme.
And now you've just branched out into so much more.
Yeah, like I started off because there's only Halloween once a year. I would start because before I knew about conventions, I would find ways to or find places to dress up to, just an excuse to costume. So I would go to sporting events and concerts, or I would offer to throw parties that just happened to be themed where if nobody else dressed up, I don't care, I can dress up. So that's kind of where it started. And then
Okay.
I had recently, probably in 2013, I went to my first con and then I discovered that there was people just like me, like other cosplayers, and then it just started branching out.
What are some of your favorite costumes that you've done?
Um, I have so many. Um, One of my favorite ones to make was it was a design of my own. It's a Rainbow Bright warrior. I call her Warrior Rainbow Bright. Again, it was taken from my childhood, and I wanted to make this costume, uh, I guess, my own take on it. So I had used like craft foam, and I made her out of armor, and it was really fun for me because I got to paint it and just design it myself. So that's definitely one of my favorites. Um, I think my most popular cosplay right now is Sabine from Star Wars Rebels. A lot of
Yes,
people
that
like
is
that one.
amazing.
Oh, thank you. And that one was a little tough to make because I started gathering screenshots and collecting supplies to make this costume actually before the show even aired, and there wasn't a lot of references, so I had to make up a lot of it, try to figure out how to make armor.
Was that process difficult? Were you mostly watching like YouTube videos, or did you go online and look for tutorials?
I did go do a lot of YouTubing and going to a lot of forums. But actually, what happened was I was at another convention, and I'm in a Ghostbusters costuming group, and I was with that group at a convention, and we had a costuming panel. And on that panel, we were doing a dual panel with a GI Joe costume group and also a Mandalorian costume group, which is the Mandalorian Mercs. And I was listening to them talk, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm trying to make this Mandalorian costume. These guys can help me. So, like, right after I started asking questions, I'm here in a Ghostbuster costume, and I'm here asking these guys all these questions. I'm like, hey, I have this stuff and I don't know what to do. Can you help me? So after the panel, I went to their table and I met their whole group, and we exchanged information, and they actually helped guide me to make this costume, and I don't think it would have been as good as if I would have done it on my own, because they've been doing this for years and they were able to guide me on the correct materials to use.
Right. Yeah, I mean, you definitely have to go to people that have been doing it for a long time. Especially, I've heard a lot with like the armor, especially like the Star Wars armor. Um, there's a lot of intricacies that go along with it.
Hmm.
That I mean, if there's a resource out there, it's really good to go to them so that way you're not wasting either material or money or time or frustration levels going up to through the roof on trying to get something to work.
Yeah, these guys were the perfect people to accidentally run into, because Um, so I'm now a member of the Mandalorian Mercs. Terran Clan is my local clan, and it's a worldwide organization. And these costumes actually require an approval to get into the club, and they're approved by Lucas.
Hmm.
So, yeah, they were the right guys to go to.
Awesome. Let's talk about that because you are a member of a lot. Well, I say a lot of different like cosplay groups. Like you're a member of the Mandalorian Mercs.
Yes.
And who else or what else are you a member of?
So I'm also a member of Rebel Legion. So it's kind of like the sister group to the Mandalorian Mercs. I know a lot of people have heard of the 501st Legion, which is like the
Hmm.
Stormtroopers, Darth Vader. So Mandalorian Mercs is like uh, the Boba Fett bounty hunter type of characters, and then Rebel Legion is the kind of like the good guys, the Jedi, Princess Leia, and
The guys that wear the flight
yeah,
suits, stuff like that.
pilots. So, since my costume is Sabine, which is a Mandalorian, and she's also Rebel, I was able to apply with one costume and be in both groups.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. So, and then it's great. These groups are non-profit, and we do a lot of charity work. And we have like for Mandalorian Mercs, we have the Little Warrior Foundation, which we raise money for, and we also work with Make a Wish Foundation, and we do events with Relay for Life, Relay for Life, American Cancer Society.
Hmm.
So we do a lot of stuff like that.
And does that also carry over to the Ghostbuster group that you're a member of? Does that group also do similar things?
So the Ghostbuster group I'm in is the Bay Area Ghostbusters. Um, we don't have like a specific charity that we um, I guess we work for or that we raise money for, but we are also a not-for-profit group, and everything that we do is on volunteer, basis. So we do a lot of cons or asks to be in parades, and it's just all volunteer.
Okay. What's the best part of being in those groups as far as like for you, like what has been one of your favorite experiences doing like volunteer the charity work that you do?
So one of my favorite, most humbling experience I had was with Rebel Legion. A few months ago, I recently got to go to two children's hospitals, and they were having Star Wars Day. So we got to go there, dressed up in our costumes and visit these kids in the hospital. And there would be some kids that would come down to this meeting area with us, and they can like say hi and take photos with us. But then there was also kids that couldn't leave their room who were more ill. So
Hmm.
what these hospitals would do is they would record us and kind of broadcast it on the TVs in the room so they can see what was going on. And
Okay.
they had asked me also to like read a storybook. So I got to read a storybook, and they recorded it, and then the kids got to watch me read to them.
Oh, that's awesome.
So yeah, that's I really enjoy doing stuff like that. I know costuming started with just me trying to express, this geeky side of me, and being able to create these costumes just to wear, to conventions and have fun. And it became something more. Like I can give back to the community. I'm having fun doing this, but then also to make a kid's day or make somebody smile. It's so much more rewarding than it's beyond just yourself.
Absolutely. And that I think that's one of the best things as I talk to people that are doing cosplay. A lot of people whether they promote it or not, or I mean with the Star Wars groups, there's a lot of the sanctioned groups that are out there that do that stuff. But it's so nice to hear how kind people are with their time to like get dressed up and get prepared and go someplace just to make sure um, people or people that maybe don't get the privilege or people that are sick in the hospital or just to entertain just to be like that positive spirit and like it's just so nice to hear that so many people are out there doing the same thing and just making people like feel better,
Yeah,
like even if it's just for 5 minutes or 10
yeah,
minutes.
it's so great to give back.
So I did have a question out of curiosity. How like I went to my first convention and of course the 501st are there, the Rebel Legions there. What's the best way to approach them or to like show your interest in one of the groups to get started? Like what would your advice be?
Well, there's websites for all of these groups. Again, like 501st, the Mandalorian Mercs, and Rebel Legion. It's a worldwide organization, so you can go to their websites, and then you can create a forum, or you can join the forum, and then you can
Mhm.
find the chapter or group or clan that is closest to your area, and then you can go from there.
Okay. Now, where can people find you online to follow you, whether it's Facebook or Instagram or just, to follow your progress pictures to see all the different costumes you've done?
Um, you can find me on Facebook at Kittie Cosplay. It's Kittie Cosplay, and then also same for Twitter and Instagram is at Kittie Cosplay with no space.
Okay, fantastic. And I will make sure to send people your way and have those links up on the show notes and on the Facebook page when this episode comes out.
Thanks, David.
Well, Kitty, I want to say thank you so much. And I just want to bring up something really quick before we end this episode. And I know I said it to you in the email previously. It was such a blast to see you with Ginny of my third episode, Ginny of Ginny Not Weasley cosplay. That it made me so happy to see, and I just wanted to thank you for sending me that picture.
Oh, thanks, David. No problem. It was really cool to actually meet her in person too, because I listened to your podcast and then I learned about her from your show. So it was really cool to meet her in person.
That's awesome. I'm so happy that you got to listen to her that podcast episode beforehand, and then you got to meet her. And then I know we were talking before we started recording, and that you've also know one of my other guests whose episode is going to be out before yours is Trent, who's a big Power Ranger guy, and that is just so awesome. Like the people that are just crisscrossing each other that I'm getting to talk to is just so amazing.
Yeah, it's so much fun. I can't wait to hear that episode. Yeah, Trent's one of my really good friends too, and I'm so glad that you were able to record him too, and I can't wait to hear it.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for your time, and I am just so happy that we got to sit down and do this recording for the Tales from the Fandom podcast.
Yes, thank you so much for having me. It was so much fun.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you for listening to Tales from the Fandom. Subscribe to us on iTunes or your podcast app of choice. Follow us on Facebook at www.facebook.com/Tales from the Fandom to see photos, links, leave feedback, and check out upcoming guests. If you'd like to be a guest, email David at talesfromthefandom@gmail.com.